Here we are again. It's time for an underdog. And what kind of underdog we are talking about? It is crazy.
I think so. It's
Yeah.
a huge news, right? So we are talking about, don't forget this name, Ashwath Kaushik.
hmm
Only 8 years old, 6 months, and I think around 10 or 11 days when he just crushed a Grandmaster. So he's the youngest player ever to defeat a Grandmaster in a real over-the-board game.
8 years. It's like one of those situations again where the player can hardly promote the pawn to a queen because it will cost extra second to like jump on the chair and get the queen or something, and he beat a grand master, which is still there's still only a couple of thousand, like 1,200 or 300 or something in the world, I think. I mean, what is happening? So yeah, always also in underdog situations, I'm also always thinking like because of the cheating stuff in the last couple of years, like uh, can it just happen? And of course it can happen. There are super talented young players,
Yeah.
crazy talented young
I don't
players.
think it has anything to do with the cheating. It's like nowadays there's so much more information
Yeah.
available. Kids are growing up and well looking at the game. I was very impressed with the way an 8 years old was handling its pieces. It's just bizarre at such a young age. We are going to have a look at that particular game.
We will. I
And
just have to quickly mention that you just posted a video on your own YouTube channel about the victory of Pragnananda against Kaimar, and the title is going like they're playing like machines almost through the
yeah,
whole game.
exactly.
Yeah,
Yeah,
so it is.
but these kids, they are 10 years older than
Yeah.
this kid. But interestingly, all these young kids who are now elite grandmasters,
Mhm.
they have been in that situation as well. So I hope at least in let's say 5 years or so, we have a really big name in chess, Ashwath Kaushik. And we're going to have a look at the game.
I'm curious. Okay, let's see. I
Yeah,
didn't
and
check it out,
I mean,
luckily.
the kid is making mistakes. Don't blame an 8 years old. But I was also impressed by certain decisions he made. So I will point
Okay.
out exactly where that is. So he's playing with the white pieces, e4, d6. By the way, the name of the grandmaster is Jacek Stopa, grandmaster from Poland.
Mhm.
I think he's around my age, so
Whoa,
something like 37, I think.
my God! And
But
you would think like maybe he's a little bit older
yeah,
because there
that's
you
what you'd
make
expect.
mistakes.
Yeah.
Yeah. Wow.
Although he is not at the peak of his rating. He's at the time the game is played 2351.
hmm
So grandmaster, normal grandmaster, let's say, is 2500, of course. So he's below his peak, but still not an old guy. And yeah, quite a remarkable game. So let's see. D4, D6, sorry, D6, D4, knight F6, knight C3, E5. So here we have the Philidor defense. Now, I'm pretty sure if you give this position to an average 8 years old, he would automatically capture the pawn on E5.
Absolutely. Even me.
Then,
Yeah.
and then after taking back trade of queens. Well, this is just a totally normal line, but at that age, you're just thinking about capturing pieces, right? That's how you approach chess.
I agree.
So for me, it's not like a good or bad decision. It's just remarkable that an 8 years old just continues developing and plays well, what is considered to be like the main variation for white. Knight f3, knight bd7, bishop c4, bishop e7. So, well, this is all pretty standard. And
Yeah, can
also,
I need to ask. I'm sorry. It's like it's just my stupid little club player attacking amateur brain. But before the castling, can you not like take on f7? Is there a line?
yeah.
Right,
Well,
the knight looks so beautiful on e6. I don't know. I mean,
this is a well-known trick. I think it's not good at this point, but you're right. You should look at it. Your idea is that if king goes back, there's knight e6
not
trap.
exactly. Not only if king goes back, it like the king can only go to g8,
And
which
only
is
goes to
like
g8.
yeah, because otherwise the queen is gone, right? And yeah, even like this, it is just a bit odd, but of course, I guess if black plays correctly, then black will
Yeah,
win,
but
right?
the thing is, the line even continues. If after knight e6, queen e8, you can take on c7, but the queen will come in to g6 with a threat against the pawn on g2. Well, this is considered to be better for black. It's kind of chaotic.
Yeah.
We should not go there in detail.
Sorry, of
I
course.
think,
No, no.
but
I just wanted to
yeah,
quickly
yeah,
point it
no,
out
it's
before. Yeah.
you're sharp today, Arne. So
I'm not sure.
that's good. Yeah. Let's see. So castling king side,
Hmm.
black does the same. So the trick is now out of the position, no longer possible. And what I also find remarkable is the next two moves played by Kaushik, as he played the move h3. This is, well, it's well-known theory. It
Hmm.
could be that he knows it all, or maybe he even prepared it, but it's a kind of useful move just to guard the g4 square. And after the move c6, black is intending to expand on the queen side, grab some space, hit the bishop. He just plays prophylactic move a4. Now, this is all standard theory, but still, I was very impressed to see such a young boy going for these nice, subtle pawn moves.
Yeah, it's became a bit more frequently those pawn moves with the prevention on a4 or h3 h4 too as well. Yeah, it's just like it's a very normal thing meanwhile, and it's interesting that
Right.
he caught up to this quickly.
So black played the move a5, rook e1, h6, and now even the next move, bishop a2. Typical move for this system, but not for an average 8 years old.
Hmm.
Bishop is working from distance. It's standing nicely on this diagonal, so it's kind of useful. Rook e8, bishop e3, bishop f8, queen d2. Perfect opening, right? We are at move 12, and all the pieces have been developed. Rooks are connected. So middle game is starting now, and black played here the move queen c7. Just overprotecting the pawn on e5, also pretty standard. And now look what's happening here. Kaushik goes for the move knight h4. A very interesting idea. So the knight is on its way either to f5 or g6. Pawn on f7 is not a good defender because of that bishop. So the knight is trying to exploit the slightly weakened light squares on that side of the board. Black move the knight away to h7. May look a little strange, but everything is still well protected. Knight g6.
Oh
So
my God.
whenever you want, you can always trade off the knight for the bishop. And later on try to open the position to prove that the bishop pair is really valuable. Black decided to take here on d4. Bishop takes back. And the knight comes into to c5, putting some pressure against the pawn on e4. But okay, still everything well defended. And here, white played the move f4, bringing up the pawn.
Wow.
Grabbing more space. And now we see the strategy of black, aiming for exchange of minor pieces with the move bishop e6. This is normally a good strategy against young kids, right? Just to get out of theory, swap some pieces, and try to take advantage of your experience in the end game.
Yeah.
Doesn't work always. White took on f8. Possibly you can also take first on e6, but minor differences. Let's see. Knight takes f8. Knight takes f8. So here the knight is on its way back to the center. And white played here very ambitious move, double-edged decision to play the move f5. Attacking the bishop. So black takes on a2. You take back with a rook. And now black play the move f6. So here you see the main drawback of white's strategy is that there's a weak square on e5, and that can be occupied very soon by a knight. So not sure this is the best way of playing, but on the other hand, white is still having a nice space advantage. So with the move queen f4, setting up a little trap here. If you're careless, let's say you play rook a8, then the knight on c5 can be taken as the pawn on d6 is pinned. But okay, Grandmaster will not fall for that cheapo. Knight fd7 is a good move, so the knight protects the other knight, and it's on its way to e5, as
E5
we
looks
discussed
very
already.
juicy,
Yeah.
yeah.
How should white play here? Well, different ideas. The rook on a2 doesn't look great, so I was thinking going back with the rook and then try to double on the e file. That's a typical plan to strengthen your pawn on e4, and then at the right moment you should look for maybe for a pawn break on the king side, launching your g pawn. In that case, the queen and the rooks together, they are doing quite well. But also the next move by an 8-year-old really surprised me. But there's something to say for it. Kaushik played here the move 91. Not sure that's the move you would have considered, Arne.
Never.
Yeah. But he has a different idea of activating his forces. Look, after 95, he brings the rook to a3. So now the third rank has been cleared. The rook can
That
come
is
to the
cool,
center.
yeah.
Very interesting. And after king h7, he even places the knight on f2. So the knight supports the pawn on e4 one more time. But there's also a drawback to white's strategy. Now the queen comes to f7. White played the move g4. And here we see the idea. Queen c4. So the queen is coming in and is trying to put pressure against weak points like unprotected pawn on c2 and the bishop on d4. White wants to keep both defended, goes back with the queen. But, well, here there are different ways of playing. But
My
I think
God.
black is
My heart
absolutely...
was falling into to the bottom because I thought about f3, but of course there's a rook.
Yeah, true. The rook
Typical
is still
amateur.
working from... No, it's good. It's actually very important. And black had his possibility here, instead of the game's continuation b6, which is too soft, too modest, to play a move like queen b4. I think it's a very annoying move, as you don't really want to exchange queens. After swapping queens on b4, the rook, as well as the pawn on a4, are under threat. So that's not really gonna work.
Yes.
And attacking the queen with c3 is not possible, because you're blocking the third rank, allowing knight f3 with a knight for material.
Oh, man.
So white would have to make very inconvenient decision here by, for instance, dropping back with the queen to d1. And now there's computer suggestion of playing the move knight ed3.
What?
Yeah, insane interference
so
motive once
crazy.
again. Indeed, because if you do take, there is queen takes d4,
Yeah.
and black is now gaining the initiative in
Wow.
in the center. So yeah, that's what could have happened, but instead b6 was played. But that gives white time to consolidate its position with a move king g2. Maybe even rook g3 instead was maybe more logical, ignoring the pawn on a4 and going all out for an attack with h4 and g5. But we are not going to blame young kids here. King g2 was played, and black believed that there's all the time in the world, playing a move like rook a7. And after h4, black decided to strike with the move d5. So attacking the pawn on e4, putting pressure there. And you can see that if the center gets opened, well, potentially white's king is more vulnerable than the black king. But here, with the move b3, you're trying to force the queen to go back to an inferior square. Now, if the queen goes back to a6, it still has possibility to come back to b7. So you're eyeing the king on this diagonal. Probably first black would play rook ae7, but well, this was not played in the game, and black sticks here to the strategy of aiming for exchanges with the move queen b4. But I think this is a very poor move, as after queen takes queen, pawn takes back. Well, same idea that the rook is under threat, but the rook comes back to a1. The rooks are connected, and thanks to the pawn on b3, pawn on a4 is not hanging. So black is not better here. I think black has to be quite careful, in fact. Pawn takes e4 played. And, well, here again, various possibilities. You can take the pawn on e4, but I like the move played in the game. bishop takes c5, ruining the pawn formation on the queen side. And well, white has the chance here just to regain that pawn on e4. And just looking at the structure, there's an outside passed pawn on a4. So when all pieces are getting exchanged, that a pawn should be decisive. It's
Hmm.
much more dangerous than the double pawn on the c file. White takes with the knight on e4.
Ah, tactics.
Yeah, tactics time. And well, it's quite remarkable thing here that black moved the knight away from e5 to take the pawn on g4. I think it was a conscious decision by black, but to be honest, I think it's the losing mistake because of knight g5,
Yeah,
of
yeah,
course.
exactly.
Discovered check. Obviously, you cannot take the pawn on f6 with check because knight takes back and defends the rook. But with knight to g5, black captures the knight. Rook takes rook. Well, knight can come back to f6. Maybe black is dreaming here of some sort of a fortress. You're attacking the rook, but the rook goes to c8. It is ready to wrap up the remaining pawns on the queen side.
Uh-oh.
And not sure what black was thinking here. If you do take on h4, it's rook takes c6, and I don't think these pawns are dangerous at all. Black instead played g4. So it could be that black is just sort of gambling here, so that after, let's say, rook takes c6, which was played in the game, rook d7, you're hoping for some counterplay with the rook and with a knight coming into f4. Well, with a
Oh,
bit of imagination, you can see the white king being forced backwards and some sort of mating ideas they can quickly follow. But it's not too serious, I think, because white just pushes the pawn.
oh
This
gosh.
is the right moment. Rook
It's
d2.
almost
Yeah.
game over. Yeah.
Yeah, it goes really fast.
Yeah.
And after king g3, well, there's no good check with the rook. And if you go knight h5, you can simply take the pawn. So that's also not going to work. Black therefore played here the move rook d4. And now another memorable moment in this game. Try to find the most clean way to convert your advantage.
For white.
For white to move, indeed.
How do we do this? For you at home, of course, now it's time to stop the video and think about how to do this best. So there's, of course, two options which immediately go into my mind. One is not working. That was I found out. Taking on c5 will run into the beautiful fork on e4, and that
Yeah,
means
we shouldn't
black
do
will
that,
win.
indeed. Yeah, true. Okay, so let's not do that.
Let's not do that. But of course, I mean, there's like, what on earth is speaking against a6, a7, a8, and just winning?
Nothing. It's a good move, but it was not played in the game.
Okay.
I think the reason why I didn't go for it, and that really speaks for Kaushik, is that you don't really want to allow knight h5 with ideas that if the king goes back, you have another knight check, and maybe the rook comes forward. It's a bit of annoying that three pieces are attacking the exposed king. So what White did instead was saying, okay, I want to take out all the potential counterplay by playing which move? Da-da-da-da-da. Rook takes f6. He's just giving back the exchange. So he's transforming its material advantage into a positional one, aiming for a rook endgame. Black has to take back, and now the pawn is really strong. There's no counterplay. The rook has to go back to stop the pawn. You put the pawn on a7, threatening to promote the pawn. Rook
Wow.
a8, only move to defend against it. And now just take the pawn on g4. You
How
have an extra pawn,
crazy.
and the rook is fantastically placed behind the passed pawn, supporting it. And after, well, king g7, king f4, I think here Stopa resigned because there's not much you can do against the infiltration of the white king. Let's say if you play king f7, king e4, king e7, the king comes to d5, and I understand you would like to walk into to b7, Black would still try to stop it, but then at least you can wrap up these two
Yeah.
remaining pawns, and it's absolutely a game over. So I thought it
Oh,
was a really very impressive game. I mean, in the middle game, it was clear that Kaushik was still finding its way. He made some inaccurate moves, and maybe he was even worse at some point. But opening was very impressive, as well as the conversion part. I think not many 8 years old they would give back the exchange
exactly.
and evaluate it correctly as well.
Yeah, this is actually really like, if we talk about like young players, this is something which all of us who have played against young players probably experienced. What you mentioned earlier, that they would just take in the very opening, in the very beginning in the Philidor, that they would just take the pawn on e5, for example, to swap the queens. And the same applies to, I really think it is rare that you exchange the piece back and to just have a
Exactly.
winning
Yeah.
position, to just go like, how do I get a winning position? Whoever the coach of him is probably taught him this, maybe, I guess, or he just knows that if you have the chance to convert to a winning position, like which is just clearly won, then you can simplify it.
Yeah. No.
And he might have played with that idea. And
Exactly, exactly. Well, but for me, it's very special that he's a very all-round player. He completed the opening. He knows his theory. He completed its development in a very nice way. Not many 8 years olds they really make sure that all the pieces are joining
yeah,
play. Also, at other moments, well, basically, I can pinpoint like 5 to 10 moments in the game. I was very impressed that he also brings back the rook to connect the rooks
yes,
again and making nice little plans for all its pieces. So most of these young kids they have one idea and they go for it with one or two pieces. But in this game you could see that he really understands. And I think this young boy from Singapore, I think he has Indian roots actually. I think he's going to be a future star, and I wouldn't be surprised we will see him one day in the top 10 of the world. But not in 1 or 2 years, but give him some time.
of course. And
Yeah,
you at home have seen him here first, maybe.
yeah, exactly.
Back then, it was an underdog, but yeah, maybe this very episode will be viewed like 7, 8, 9 years from now, and then you go like, "What? He was playing like
Yeah.
that once upon a time." Yeah, actually, very, very funny. Thank you very much, Robert. As always, super nice analysis. You can check out the game, obviously. It's in the ChessBase news article. And thank you, everybody, for watching The Underdog. We see each other soon enough.
Bye bye.
Bye.